Good morning. So, throughout this convention, you have heard several people talk, or several of our officers and people that have come to the stage talk about alternative payment option. So, what is alternative payment option? Alternative payment option is switching from your payroll to bank draft, not your savings account, but we need your checking information, to bill pay, meaning setting up through your financial institution, or even your monthly payments by check. We can do it by the month, or you can do it by the year. So when we talk about alternative payment options, we're not just talking about bank draft. You actually have options. So as I've gone around this summer through annual meetings and gone to district events, you know, people have asked, why is it important? Why now? So it's very important that you take a look at this.
Next is Senate Bill 375, state employees / no payroll dues deductions. Again, Senator Heiss.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, again. It's my pleasure to be back in front of you, and I do think when we get there, in this bill, Senator Edwards also has an amendment that's related to this bill. This bill is simple. That doesn't mean that it's not, there isn't some controversies about it, but this is a fight that I've done for 7 years now. Since being in the General Assembly, the Senate has passed this on multiple times. This would quite simply eliminate the state collection of any dues for organizations. I firmly believe, and have been for a while, that this is not a role of the state. It is not the role of the state to give outside organizations access to our employees and to their checks, and we will collect their dues and fees, and oftentimes many other things, payments for like those others. We will not continue to collect those as a state for these outside organizations and fund it. This is not. This is to all organizations within the purview of the state who use state payroll. We will not collect those dues for them, and I believe Senator Edwards.
Senator Edwards, you have an amendment.
Yes, thank you. Yeah, thank you, Mr. Chair, Senator Heiss, members of the committee. This amendment effectively does 4 things. Number 1, it adds on page 1, line 3, the language, and to prohibit withholding of employee wages from labor organizations. Secondly, effectively, in addition to public employees, it also groups all other organizations that are not covered by one of these 3 categories: the Federal Railway Labor Act, the National Labor Relations Act, and the Labor Management Relations Act. Thirdly, it establishes the validity of the bill if were it to be challenged. And then last, it clarifies the effective status.
Discussion or debate on the amendment?
Mr. Chair.
Yes?
No, thank you.
Senator Tarr.
Yeah, Senator, can you explain why this is necessary versus just leaving the bill as submitted and introduced? I'm sorry, I can't hear you. Why is the amendment necessary?
The amendment is necessary because it slightly broadens, it adds uniformity and consistency to the public sector, and it makes it less complicated for folks to understand that this group should be selected to be exonerated from the bill.
Any further discussion on the amendment? Hearing none, the question before the committee is the passage of the amendment to the bill. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Hearing none, the amendment passes, and we go on to vote on the bill. Any discussion on the bill?
Mr. Chair. Senator Cook.
Senator Cook.
I'm just curious, can we use this bill to avoid paying federal income tax? Okay.
Good question. Senator Alexander, go ahead.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Senator Heiss, I assume this has nothing to do with the state employee health plan? Please?
This does not. It has to do with outside organizations that charge their dues, be memberships to it. This does not deal with the state health plan. This does not deal with the benefits that are received through the North Carolina Flex Plan. Some organizations may pay a benefit for the membership, and in those cases, whatever that benefit is, they would have to collect the money directly from the individual. This does not apply to the state entity. This is just those outside organizations.
Thank you, Chair. Thank you, Senator Heiss. Mr. Chair.
Senator Tarr.
Yeah, I guess one question is, this would not impact any kind of deduction that would be pre-tax. Is that correct? So there would be no pre-tax benefit by having a deduction from an outside organization?
This would not deal with the distinction between the two, or pre and post-tax benefits, I do believe. I will say specifically, this does not affect any of the NC Flex benefits.
Further discussion or debate from the committee? Anyone in the audience?
There are.
State your name for the record, please, and your organization.
My name's Artis Watkins. I'm Government Relations Director for the State Employees Association of North Carolina. And just very briefly, I know you have a long docket before you, but I want to tell you that this bill doesn't do anything for the people of North Carolina. This bill is political, and that's all it is. And so let's just say it. This bill is a political bill to get at some organizations. And I don't really understand taking a convenience away from employees in order to do that, making them give their bank account information to one other entity out there in the world just because. But I will tell you this, the State Employees Association says do whatever you want to do today, follow your heart, because we're going to be here anyway. NCA and other organizations, I'm sure they're going to be here anyway. And if it's not us, if we're not here for some reason, somebody will be, because workers will always find a way to have a voice. This isn't taking just random dues for some random organizations. This is the employees of the state, your own employees. This isn't some tenuous relationship. If you choose to do this, again, follow your heart. But I would ask, if you want to do something for state employees, we're not going to stand up here and advocate for SEANC. We're not here so the organization can thrive. We have survived big and bad stuff so that we can be here to argue for employees. And what we ask is give every state employee, agency, or public school $2,400 for a raise this year so they can make up some of the ground they've been losing by not getting meaningful raises despite surpluses, and give every retiree 2% because they gave you more than 30 years and they've not been meeting the mark either. So what we would ask you to do is what our mission is, to help state employees and retirees and not this organization.
Are we still speaking, are we still talking about the bill?
I was, but
No, you weren't.
apparently, you disagree, and sir, I will obviously honor your disagreement.
Thank you very much.
Thank you for your time.
Any other comments? Senator
I do.
Hooker.
I came late and I apologize. Tell me the rationale by eliminating this deduction, so I'll understand. I hate to put.
I will give you clearly. I can find nowhere under what is the role or the purpose of state government to give access and collection to our employees that we hire to outside organizations so that we collect money and give it to outside organizations. That is simply, basically not the role of state government. And it is inappropriate that we continue to do so, and many times force employees onto being dues collection and being collected dues and utilizing people who are members and HR personnel and others to have the overseer and access to who is paying those dues and who is not paying those dues, which may also serve as that individual supervisor.
Follow up. And you see no correlations between private benefit plans, 401ks, and the other type of collections, and this organization, which is supposedly a service organization for employees as well?
We have a very stringent process in NC Flex in which you bid and process the benefits that would be available to a state employee, and then we offer state employees the options to purchase those benefits on a pre-tax basis. I see that as extremely different than we will collect dues or others for the purposes of an organization, to lobby the General Assembly, to be a membership of, or to provide a discount card to shop in certain areas, which is also profitable for those organizations. That somehow that's a distinct role of the state is very different than providing benefits to state employees.
Follow up.
Follow up.
How long have we been doing payroll deduction for state employees? Do we know how many years? Someone tell me.
That would be a step. It is a significant time. It was 7 years ago I first wrote a bill to end the dues collection that's coming in, so that's becoming a long time as well.
Follow up.
It'll have to be a question for staff, but when these two began, maybe in the original statute or when they began. But
My last question. Follow up.
Follow up.
Why change it?
because it's not the role. Exemption was first created in 1981. I can answer that question for you. All I can tell you is I'll give you what began this process. There's a couple instances. I had a teacher in one of my counties who was asked about her membership in an organization just before her evaluation. When she sat down with her principal, the first question she got was, were you a member of an organization? I myself withdrew from an organization when it affiliated from a union. I had not walked back to my office from the HR department where the individual was sitting in my office to discuss why I had left an organization. That was me individually as a state employee before coming here to the General Assembly. There are stories all over this state that many have heard from about people who are pressured to be in organizations because it is their membership number they think that gives them authority. And so I can find no way in the time that I've been here, maybe why we're getting rid of it is I and many other members of the General Assembly arrived at a certain date. And from the moment I've been here, I don't know that anyone would argue that, this has been one of the priorities I have pushed because quite simply, it is not a role of state government. There's many other things we've done that aren't the roles, and we've taken issues to address those as well. But it is not the role of state government. It's not a position we should be in.
Any further discussion or debate? Senator?
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'd just like to add that I agree with Senator Heiss. This is a good bill. It's not the role of state government to collect and redistribute monies. I believe that any employee, including the state employee, should be able to organize however they choose, but they should bear the burden of writing the checks and making sure they get to the proper place. As a business person, I know that this type of activity is not automatic. And I heard the comment made a while ago that there was no benefit to the taxpayers in North Carolina. I would very much disagree with that. Because this is not an automatic process, it requires a great deal of administration behind the scenes to make sure that data is input, followed upon regularly, to make sure that disbursements are made, that they're followed up on, that any argument or question is followed up on, and it also comes with a great deal of liability. And I can say that as a person that's responsible for writing about 390 paychecks every month. I can't imagine the folks that are responsible for doing that for 325,000 employees. good piece of legislation, Senator Heiss, and I appreciate that you brought it forward.
Further discussion or debate? We have a motion from Senator Cook for a favorable. All in favor? As amended, the bill as amended, will be rolled into a PCS. All in favor? Aye. Opposed?
No.
In the opinion of the chair, the ayes have it. The bill will be sent back to rules.
So, as you can see, this is more real than ever. After 7 years, Senator Ralph Heiss has gotten this bill to pass through the State Personnel Committee, the State Senate Rules, and it has breezed through the Senate floor. Right now, this bill sits in the House Rules Committee. It is very much alive. So what does this mean for SEANC? If you have insurance, if you have any purchasing power, not only will our due structure go away, but you will lose your insurance, you will lose your ability to have purchasing power and to provide those things that your children or yourself may need. So what else does this mean? Our members must make the switch. So how do you do it? You can go to APO online, meaning apo.seanic.org, fill out the registration form. You can look to see how much your products are, and then complete the form, hit enter, boom, it's done. If you want to do bill pay, you can still go to apo.seanic.org, look at what the cost of your products are, go to your financial institution, make that change. But what I will say is please contact member services to let them know that you've made that switch so that we can stop your deduction, because we won't be able to do it if you do your bill pay. Or you can switch by completing an APO form. Each of you have one of those forms in your folders. If you've already switched, we thank you. If you have already switched, take that form back, get a fellow member to switch so that they will also be a part of keeping your voice alive. If you have not switched, I encourage you, please make that switch today and turn your form back into the back booth of APO. How does it work? Everyone, for example, that's enrolled this month of September, you will still have your normal deduction in October. We will process your first draft the 1st of November, which means we're preventing a double deduction. It's that simple. You don't have to do anything. Just complete the form, turn it in. It works that way month by month, so we make sure that you do not have any type of double deductions. So some of the frequently asked questions that we've had, is this safe? Yes, it is safe. The transmissions are encrypted based on bank draft demands. If I set up bill pay, will I have to do two? Yes, only if you have insurance with auto and home, or if you have purchasing power. And that's because your premiums are subject to change off and on throughout the month, or each month. Why can't we do recurring credit card? Currently, we don't offer that option because of the fees. I will tell you that the executive committee has talked about that, so that may be an option that may come a little bit later. Can I sign up with my financial institution? Absolutely. Only if you do not have an auto and home policy or purchasing power, and it goes back to those premiums or that contract amount changing by the month. So let's take a look at what we have, and this does not include any new enrollments after August 31st. So currently we have 3,368 members that have switched to bank draft, 17 that are EFT, meaning they have set up bill pay, and 1,542 that are annual pays. If you have made the switch, if you are an annual pay, or if you have set up bill pay, please stand. give yourselves a round of applause for keeping your voice loud and strong. So remember, what's remaining is 45,548 members that we have remaining to make this switch. We have a major task ahead of us, because if this bill passes, everything stops immediately. That's how the bill is written. So when you go back, you need to really get members switched. Again, now is the time. If you haven't made the switch and you want to make the switch today and you want to be eligible for one of the drawings for $1,000, I encourage you get up right now. Go to that APO booth, complete your information, and make that switch. So congratulations. You've all been trained. You're expected to go and help others make the switch right now. Before we end, I want to call up Artis Watkins. Our government relations team, led by Artis Watkins, they go in that General Assembly and they fight for you every day they're in session. When they're not in session, they're in committee meetings. This is your voice that stood up in that committee and talked about what your needs are. They need a round of applause. And Artis's team, Suzanne Beasley, David Collins, Flint Benson, Amanda Finelli, and Tony Boo. They all deserve a round of applause as well. We thank them for their hard efforts in trying to keep this bill from passing, and they'll continue to do this job. But if you make the switch, you show them that our voice will remain loud, we will remain proud, and again, we will always find a way to make a difference and to keep our voices loud and strong. Thank you.
Thank you, Brenda, for recognizing the government relations team in their work on that bill. That bill's in the House now. That threat is so far from over. And I do thank that team, because for 7 years, they've held a massive rock from rolling downhill on top of us. But I don't know how much longer we can hold. It's great to say, yay, yay, we stopped it. I don't know how much longer we can hold that rock away, so please heed Brenda's warning, switch over, get everybody you know to switch over.